Okay guys, sorry we got cut off again. I finished up that problem and I am just gonna try to get a couple more done. My iPad doesn't have a lot of room on it anymore. So this one, x1, y1, x2, y2, 3 minus a negative 4 over 5 minus a negative 2. This, remember, this turns to addition, both of these. So this turns out to be 7 over 7, which is 1. So if I use this in my y plus 4 equals 1 times x plus 2, I use the first point, but remember they're both minuses, so they automatically turn to positives. This would be distributed. Y plus 4 equals 1x plus 2. Move this 4 to the other side. Y equals 1x minus 2. So I go to negative 2. My slope is a positive 1. You guys can kind of see what happens there. They would make that equation true. Okay, let's keep an eye on things. Couple more here. I think that you guys can see what's going to happen here. If I do my slope x1, y1, x2, y2, this means that I'm going to have 2 minus 2 over 3 minus a negative 2. This turns to be 0 over 5. 0 divided by 5 is just 0. Okay, but the slope is 0, so if you could put this into your equation, y minus 2 equals 0 times x plus 2. Well, 0 times anything is 0, so what this turns into, because you're not going to have this graph here, you have to remember that this is just for today, so this equals 0, so you would add this to the other side, y equals 2 would be your equation. If you graph that, it does go through those 2 points. Okay, slope equals x1, y1, x2, y2, 1 minus a negative 3 over negative 4 minus negative 4. This turns into adding, so you get 4 over 0. Can you divide by 0? No, so this is undefined. And that's all you can do there. You have to know that even though the slope is undefined, that the line is going to be vertical. So if it's going to be vertical, where does it cross? Well, both of these are crossing at negative 4, so your equation is x equals negative 4. That means it's a vertical line. Okay, it says we probably could have solved the last 2 problems without much work. All of the lines described below have something in common. Let's see if we can write their equations. Looking for my highlighter here. So let's check, and we've kind of done this before. What do they have in common? Well, look at here. They have the same x's. These ones have the same y's. These ones have the same y's, and these ones have the same x's. So if their x's match, then our equation is x equals that number. If our y's match, then our equation is that number. Same thing here, y equals 7. The last one, this would just be x equals 0. So if you do notice that, that's a quick, like, you can solve the problem because you know it's going to be horizontal or vertical. Okay, so this is really interesting. I've actually never learned this little trick, and so it took me a second even to understand what they were doing. So it says, write the slope-intercept form of the equation whose slope is 2 and contains the point 35. So they did it both ways, point-slope method, which is the one I've been using, slope-intercept method. So, but then they say the intuitive method. They say, since the slope is 2, we know that our equation will start like this, y equals 2x. So then basically what they do is they take 2 times the x value. So the x value here was 3. So 2 times 3 is 6. Okay, well, we know that it actually has to be not 6, but -1. So how far away are we from there? Okay, that's what you kind of are going to ask yourself. Well, we are 5 away, so you would have to take away, we need to adjust our equation, okay? Or I should say the y is 5, so 6 is how far away from the 5, which is -1. Okay, so it gets that's a little tricky in my brain, but I did a few, and then that helped me out. So I'm going to do a few with you guys. So the slope is 3. So we know our equation is going to be y equals 3x. Okay, so what is 3 times x? Okay, that is 12. But how far, if y equals 14, what would we have to do to get there? We'd have to -2. Okay, it took me a couple. This is our x and our y, obviously. So I know that it's going to be -4x, because that's our slope. -4 times times 2 is -8. So I'm going to picture this -8. Well, we want to get to -5. So what would we have to do? We'd have to add 3. Okay, because you're picturing this y in over here. Okay, next one. Y equals -2x. So -2 times -6, this would give us 12. Well, how far is 12 away from 10? To get to 10, we'd have to subtract 2. Okay, this one, y equals 1x. So 1 times 2 is 2. How far would you have to get from 2 to 8? You'd have to add 6. Y equals 5x. Okay, 5 times 2 is 10. 10 is how far away from 9? Because this is y equals 9. Well, how far away it is? It's just -1. Okay, the next one, y equals -3x. -3 times 1 is -3. How would you get to 0? Well, you'd have to add 3 to get to 0. Okay, so these are kind of an interesting way to do things. I'm going to do a couple with fractions. So sometimes this isn't going to work because it's just going to be too difficult, but sometimes it's going to. Because I can take half of x. What's half of 8? Well, it's 4. How can you get from 4 to -1? Well, we are going to subtract 5. Y equals 1/3 x. Well, because I can take 1/3 of 6, I can do this. So 1/3 of 6 is -2. How can I get from -2 to -7? Well, I need to take away 5 more. Y equals 3/4 x. 3/4 times 12 is, well, if you split 12 into fourths, you get 3s, and 3 3s would be 9. So how do you get from 9 to 9? You don't have to do anything, so you can just leave it, or you could write +0, either way. Okay, we can only use this trick if you know the slope, so on these ones you'd have to find the slope first. x1, y1, x2, y2. So 10 minus 7 over 2 minus 1, this gives you 3 over 1. So you know your equation is y equals 3x. Now you can technically go to either point, okay? But if you put the 1 in, you have to go to 7. If you put the 2 in, you have to go to 10. So for example, if I put the 1 in for x, I get 3. So 3 plus what would give you 7? 3 plus 4. If you put the 2 in, you get 5, or you get 6, sorry. 6 plus 4 also gives you 10. So it's kind of a way to check to see if you did it right. Okay, I'm going to do one more and then we're going to call it good for today. X1, Y1, X2, Y2, -11 minus 1 over 4 minus a -2. -11 minus 1, it decreases more, which gives us a -12. 4 minus a -2 gives us a +6, and this gives us a -2. So I know it's going to be y equals -2x. So if I have -2 times -2, I get 4. 4, what do I have to do to 4 to get it to 1? I have to take away 3. And that one works for the other one. Why don't you guys try this one on your own and see if you can solve it. Okay, now this method it might not make sense to all of you, and that's okay. So stick with the algebraic method. You don't have to use the intuitive method if you don't like it, and guess what? It might not work on everything. Some of you like those shortcuts and like to do a lot of math in your head, and so you might just love that. So your homework is just this: writing linear equations given 2 points. It's just 1 page, 7 problems. Okay, and then I have some IXL for you too. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and I will talk to you later.